What is up, guys? We are back, okay, with the original format because I have been having you guys come to me and ask me to do the reaction on this whole entire Hafeez saga. We're going to go ahead and just jump right into it. I'm not going to stop it too much. I want to get into the conversation. I actually have not heard, seen, watched anything in regards to this, but you guys have been flooding my Instagram DM with this information. So I decided to come in and react to it. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. We're going to go ahead and just jump right in.
I want everybody to understand. I'm going to look into this camera right here, so I hope you see me very well here. I want everybody to understand and remember that everything I say from this point, she backed it up, all right? So it's basically zero, all right? You have no hope, no chance past the 20 years, and that comes from experience. It also is the experience.
You have no chance of passing 20 years, you're saying?
No. You can pass 20 years. Yeah. You'll probably be roommates, and you'll probably be overweight in a busted Pillsbury biscuit can, or you'll probably be the exception to the rule. But the data shows us, plus the experience that she expressed, that it's a very difficult thing. And this is what I want men to know.
Yeah.
It is very difficult. Many people will simplify it for you. They will say, oh, just do this and do that, and they will lead you on a wild goose chase. And that's my perspective. That's all that I offer. I tell men to not get married, especially when you don't have leverage. However, I also tell you, do not listen to people who simplify this. This is a very complicated thing that most people fail at miserably.
Got it.
And this is what I want people to understand.
Let me tee up Hafeez, because you used a few things there.
Yeah.
Well, I do want to, I want to just add to his point, then we're going to let Hafeez speak because it looks like he's speaking next. I do agree. I think that a lot of people make it seem like it's like this cookie cutter easy thing that you just jump into. The two of you guys are just going to make it work, and every day it's going to be extremely easy to handle. There's not going to be any hardships. Like, you guys are just going to be, riding off into the sunset, and that is not true. And the reason why I believe that what Greg Adams is saying is so important is because a lot of women jump in with that mentality, and this is why we see the divorce rate with women filing against their husbands for irreconcilable differences, or because they're not happy, simply because they really don't understand the magnitude of what it is that they are signing up for, which is extremely important that they have to recognize.
Not getting married.
Yeah.
You said sometimes
if you don't have leverage.
Okay, if you don't have leverage, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
And you talk about turning into roommates. Well, this guy is the roommate, the host of the Roommate channel.
Right.
When you're hearing this, you've been married 1 year. And by the way, this guy's a sharp, informed, very intentional guy. My assumption is he didn't just trip and fall into marriage.
He's seen myself before.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So you've been very, you're a calculated dude. 100%. Okay? So when you're hearing Greg say this, and even when you're hearing Ali say this, how are you processing this information?
No, this is really good, and I'm excited about how this conversation can develop, because I think you've maybe... Did you react to me and AMS's conversation a couple of years ago about marriage?
I didn't react to it. I didn't do a reaction video. Okay. But I made a comment about it.
Okay, you made a comment about it. Okay, so to me, I'm really excited about it, but it's also key to talk about experience. Experience shapes your view, right?
Yeah.
So a girl who's been abused by a lot of different men, she's going to have a very cynical leaning view towards men. A man who's been cheated by business partners will have a very cynical view about having potential business partners. So it's also unique to talk about we have to be honest.
Yeah.
Nobody here is 100% objective. That's one of my arguments always with red pill stuff. They say they're speaking the truth. You're not a robot. You have your biases, right? Call it for what it is. We all have our biases. I have biases. You have biases. Coach has biases. As much as we think we are, we have to be 100% honest to the people about our biases. If I'm an individual and I was divorced and I had a difficult experience via marriage, I'm going to have a biased opinion via marriage. Ali has a positive experience with marriage, so she's going to have a bias towards, great marriages can work, right? So similar to me, the people I admire the most, the people I look up to, are married people. Patrick Bet-David, Jordan Peterson, my father, Pastor Mark Driscoll, people who I look up to the most, right? Long-term marriages, the people that I celebrate a lot. Long-term marriages. My father and mother been married for over 30 years. Great, healthy marriage. So that's my opinion. My pastor, Pastor Heidi Lewis, been married for over 25 years. So that's my worldview. And so to me, hearing what he's sharing, there is truth in that. Everything what everyone's going to share is going to be truth in it. Yes, if you like, my dad told me a very powerful point. I love my father. He's such a wise older man. He said the most important decision you'll ever make in your life is the one you marry, and it can go one of two ways. And this is what I want the guys to understand. We're not teaching naivete, which is, oh, marriage is this perfect thing, and you just meet the one and live happily ever after, and there's no issues, there's no divorces. We're not teaching naivete. Marriage can be the worst thing in your life. It can be an absolute living hell. And I guarantee you, you can go for days and for days, and you know so many different stories about people which marriage is an absolute living hell. But we don't want to teach being naive about the realities. But also, we don't want to teach nihilism. Right, the other end of the extreme. Marriage is the worst thing possible, and the women are out to get your money, and everyone's miserable, and everybody's roommates.
So, sorry to cut him off while he's going on and on, but I just want to say that, so there's bias, people do have a biased opinion based off of their situations, but their backgrounds and stuff like that. I do agree with that. However, there is a difference between having a biased opinion and just tilting the scale one way, and then just speaking on the truth and statistics, right? So when we speak on the truth and statistics, there's no debating that. So even if people feel that it's this amazing thing and that it's this amazing concept and, it's blissful, when you look at the stats, a lot more people are walking away from it, stepping away from it, and getting divorced. So there are cracks in the foundation of marriage in itself, right? When it comes to a lot of different reasons, right? A lot of different reasons. So I can agree that your background and how you grew up and the people that you surround yourself with are going to help you form or have any idea of a certain situation. But however, we still have to talk about the truth of the situation and the statistics, the numbers, even the conversations that we have. I mean, let's be real.
Exists because there are some individuals, such as what Alex communicated, who are in happy, healthy long-term marriage, right? So you don't want to be naive, you want to be nihilistic, you want to be as real as possible. Give me the good, the bad, and the ugly. And my biggest thing is that I understand that marriage is a very difficult thing to get right. And the same thing is like, I love how what you do is marriage and money, right? I think we're going to be talking about those two things today. Adam, you're a 1% man financially. Right? That means 99% of people are trying to get to where Adam is. Most people live paycheck to paycheck. They're struggling. Their lives suck when it comes to money. Most people are struggling, but they're trying to get where you are. That's how I view relationships. Most people are in really sucky relationships. Most people, it's a day-to-day war, hell, the way work is, the way the gym is. But then there are some people who are having it at the highest of level. The same way nobody says, oh, well, most people are not going to be in the 1%, so screw it. You should even try. It's, 90% of businesses end in 10 years. You should even try. We say, if somebody's going to succeed, why not you? Which is why I love what you're doing. If someone's going to be rich, why not you? If someone's going to make money, why not you? If someone's going to have a great podcast, why not you? So for me, I acknowledge that the top of the mountain is rare. I acknowledge that. But what I also acknowledge is that if somebody's going to win, why not it be you? And how can we help as many men as possible get there? Everybody won't be able to get there, but how many people can we help get there? And that's what, to me, matters the most.
Gotcha.
Preach. I love that.
Now, when you hear something like this, obviously he's sort of saying, all right, I hear you, coach. Your marriage didn't work. You got out, thank God, before the 10-year mark. So you'd probably be a little bit more spiteful than you are. I'm not saying that you're spiteful, but you'd be even more spiteful if you're paying a ridiculous amount of alimony and everything that you'd be paying. But is there anything wrong with what he's saying? He's basically saying, I hear you, coach. It ain't easy out there, brother. Like, life's tough. Marriage is tough. Making money is tough. Things are tough. But don't tell me that I shouldn't get married, or don't tell me that I can't have a successful marriage. How do you process that?
I don't think anyone says do not get married. I think they caution people to say do not get married. If I say do not get married without leverage, that is a position, right, that you can change. Thus, if you read my book, it says once you get to that position, you can then make the decision. You'll probably come out better than going in it without it. However, this is what I will always say. When men do find that solution does not work out, they are left alone. There's nobody to help them. So people encourage people, hey, why not? Give it a try. But when you go bankrupt, when you lose your kids, when your kids are taken from you, when the courts kind of punish you for making this decision or punishes you for being a slightly better, higher earner, then nobody's there with information. Nobody's there with context. No one's there to help them. And I believe, not feel, I know, understand, believe, and I have evidence to show that men are left alone when they don't succeed in this endeavor. And that is the void that I feel. Because I can tell you, hey, men are alone in this situation. Men are homeless. Men are thinking about eating guns. Men are thinking about they have no way out. Men are losing big time, and we're losing a fraction of men due to manipulation, due to people trying to, they may be hurt. A woman might be hurt in a marriage, or she might feel that she's not being appreciated. And then she throws a grenade in the room. What happens then? See, that's where I come in. I get to show you what happens when the grenade is there. And I also encourage you, you're not alone in this. A lot of people come to my content and they find out, oh, you too? See, before Said 70 years ago, 40 years ago, 30 years ago, there was nobody presenting this side of the argument.
This side, I see what you're saying.
This right here. Nobody, they just left men alone and they said, well, you must not have been hitting it right, or you must not have loved her right, or you must have abused the kids. That's what she said. She said that you were, and nobody came to this position. So listen, there was a void open and I ran right.
Yeah. So when you talk about leverage, break down what you mean by leverage. Are you talking about in a marriage before you get married? Are you talking about a prenup? You're talking about a set of rules, guidelines? What's this leverage you're referring to?
Well, a lot of men, a lot of men are looking to be loved, right? So a lot of men, the transaction is always men give, women receive. So in this instance, once men do a lot of giving, they may sacrifice, they may risk things, but they're risking the little things that they have. They don't know what they're going to lose in the future, right? So by that point, they will probably avoid a prenup. They might say, I don't need a prenup. I don't have anything. Right? And so he'll get married. He'll build some things. Once the commitment is made and once the investment is made, then he has something. So then when they say, well, you better love her right. You better screw her right. You better appreciate her right. And he says, well, it's still not working. She's not happy. Well, then he knows he can measure how much he's going to lose because he now has leverage, but the leverage is attached to a marital contract. And then at that point, he can say, well, I don't want to lose my 2 or 3 kids. I don't want to lose my house. I don't want to lose my car. He knows then, and also he has no protection. He didn't get a prenup because he didn't have leverage. This is what a lot of young men in their 20s don't understand because they don't know what they're going to lose. They can't measure it. Once you're 40 and you've accumulated things and you have leverage, you have position at a company, and a woman says, hey, I want to marry you, and you will know what you're going to lose. And at that point, you can make a conscious decision whether to engage in a state-funded marital contract. Yeah. That's leverage.
I love that he said state-funded marital contract. Okay, because as he's talking, I was just thinking back in the day, I mean, way, way back in the day, it was just a man took a woman, that was his wife, they had kids, and that was it. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm talking about way, way back. So, I think that whenever you sign that contract, there's a lot of things that come with it. And to be honest, in that contract, besides, I'm not talking about prenup, I'm just talking about being married in the court's eyes, no prenup, nothing, just signing that marriage contract. It benefits the woman way more when she signs that contract than it benefits the man. Why? Because it might slightly benefit the man if, um, you guys are married in a sense where they're going to have to break up the time spent with the children. So the court would decide that, like, okay, 50% with you and 50% with the mom. But it's not going to change the fact that more times than not, if the children are going to be living with the mother, he's going to have to pay more money. Like, it's always going to benefit the woman more. Alimony, the child support, who the kids live with, like, everything. It's going to change the dynamics of his entire life. But because she can say, like, I'm accustomed to this lifestyle that he provided for me, he's still going to have to provide that for her, even if he doesn't want to be with her. So I think that men should think about it. I think that they should think about it. I don't think there's anything wrong with thinking about it and with having the knowledge. Because if you have the knowledge and you do things on a certain way and you decide that you want to get married, at least you know.
Men get married without the leverage.
Did you have a prenup when you got married?
I was married at 28, 27, engaged at 27, 28. So absolutely not.
I did not have one.
Nope.
And if you ever get married again, would you get a prenup?
I would advise
Clearly,
every
yes?
man. I mean, listen, a prenup is somewhat of a protection. It's just something
Yeah.
to fight over in court. If there's something to be there, she could just fight it, and now you lost on the money, right? But I did not. I would encourage men to do so if they want to do
Allie,
it.
when you got married, did you have a prenup?
No, and honestly, like, just hearing you speak, I feel like you come from a place that obviously had a negative experience with stuff, where you kind of, I guess I can't imagine ever looking into a marriage, like even going into the thought of marriage, maybe because I was so young and I didn't have to, with so much like guardedness. I feel like going into a marriage and falling in love with someone, there's a little bit of a leap of faith there. And so sometimes when you make it too transactional, I don't know, I feel like for me, it would take a lot away. And maybe again, because I was so young, we were kids ourselves. We didn't have anything to protect. But I feel like maybe that mindset is what's quite toxic for people that aren't able to find love, is when you constantly live in that, well, she might screw me over, I got to protect this. Like, how can you ever fully let yourself like go?
But of course, as a woman, you're not thinking of the situation like that. Like, of course, that's not the forefront of your mind. Of course, you don't want it to feel that way, because at the end of the day, if the two of you walk away, more than likely, you're not going to be losing anything. Your lifestyle won't change, and that's it. Like, you have a lot less to lose if the relationship does not work. So for a woman to say this, I mean, that's fine for you to say this because you're a woman. And again, more times than not, it's going to benefit you either way, if you're with him or when you're not with him. But for a man, it is important for them to have all of this information. They have to think about it logically, not emotionally, like, oh, it's taking the love away. They need that logic thinking.
And submit to just being in love and like letting that guard down. And I think the women have a lot to lose too. It's not just men, obviously.
Right. But we don't speak from the women's perspective because we're men.
Yes.
But we also have to understand, people go homeless over this. People lose their lives over this. This is serious.
Yeah.
It's like saying I joined the military and I was just hoping that I came out of the war not injured, not disabled, not ruined mentally. And then, I don't know why you would go over there and think that. Well, this is a battle.
Well,
and the battles are won and lost in these
It's
marriages.
not a battle, though. I think this is where the language has to be used correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think to me, I love the balancing act that's going to happen today, because I think what's going on is that I understand. So there's this idea of Eastern versus Western marriage. Let's just say Greg is on the East, she's on the West. Eastern marriage is all about logic. Does it make sense? Arranged marriages, right?
Mm-hmm.
Two families, two worldviews, two ideologies. Doesn't matter how you feel. It matters, does it make the most sense?
They're the most successful, by the way, arranged marriages.
We can talk about that in the
Yes,
future.
sure. Yeah.
So Greg comes from that mentality of, if you're going to get in this agreement, you need to write out the agreement, clear as day. What does this entail? What does it get? If you leave, you get this. If you leave without this, you don't get nothing. Like, it's a very systematized business kind of contract, because it is in
It's
essence
a business contract.
contract.
Correct.
Because, and this is why when you were talking about the idea of like when men fail in marriage, they lose everything. That's wrong.
No, I didn't say they lose everything, but they lose an awful lot.
Let's stop.
Yes.
That's still wrong.
Well, why is it wrong?
Because
I mean-
let me tell you why. Because when men lose at anything in life, they lose a lot. You lose your job. Who's gonna come save you? If you screw your friends over, like as a man, that's the name of the game. You lose, you're gonna lose a lot. You fail, you're gonna fail a lot. So I'm not saying that it's wrong. Like marriage doesn't count. I'm saying marriage is a part of all the things as a man where you cannot get wrong. Which is why I agree with the message that you're giving at times. That's why you got to be 100% serious. You don't go at this naive. You don't go at this because you understand that there is a cost for this decision. So going back to the Eastern thing, but on the West, you have marriage as all feelings. Oh my gosh, we love each other. Oh, we don't, you know what? You make $1 million, I make $10,000. We're gonna be together for the rest of our lives. Oh, you're this, you're that. Oh, your dad was an alcoholic. We'll never have any problems. Like it's a very naive model, right? And that's why Western marriages have issues because it's all feelings. And to me, which is why I love Adam, is about balance. How do we balance these two ideologies? Because to Ali's point, if it's all logic, it's boring. If it's all robotic, there's no passion, there's no excitement, there's no je ne sais quoi. It's just a dry thing that in the modern world, people don't want that, right? But if it's all feelings, there's no structure, there's no protection, there's no wisdom, there's no guidance. So I think it's a marriage of those two ideas to be able to create long-term solutions for long-term success. And that's why I just think sometimes when we come from too much leaning on one direction, either or, it becomes problematic.
So I agree with what he's saying. There does need to be a balance of the two. I mean, feelings are not going to pay the bills. Feelings are not going to help you because feelings are fleeting, right? 1 minute a woman can feel this way, tomorrow she feels differently. Now she wants a divorce. And where I don't agree with Ali is because even though I'm a woman, what I don't agree with is that she's speaking from a space of love and talking about like, oh, you know, well, my love and my this and my that. But at the end of the day, like when two people are parting ways, she's not going to be thinking with love. That love turns to, you know, hatred extremely quickly when you're not getting what you want out of the situation. So as intensely as somebody loves you, they can, you know, intensely loathe, you know, the very thought of you based off of the situation's changing. So that makes it dangerous. So it doesn't make sense to, you know, get married in a sense of just feeling in love and emotion. It does make more sense to have it a more logical situation. And I think that we also have to call it what it is. It is a business transaction. So if you think about it business minded, I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. Like, I don't think there's any losing if you think of it in a business way from a man's point of view, logically. Especially to protect yourself and assets and even to protect your partner, right? If anything happens. So I think that that's important. I don't think there's anything wrong with thinking too logically. I think it's more of a problem if you think too emotionally.
I believe he agreed with me, though. I thought he was disagreeing.
Well, I guess
I was agreeing. Yeah, that's how I play. I was like, yeah.
So just to be clear, did you get a prenup when you got married?
No, and I explained to you guys why. So I think, and I talked about this. I love the prenup conversation. I think it's important. There's three reasons why I didn't get a prenup. But the first reason is I actually believe prenups are good and bad. They're good because they protect you. They're bad because they don't protect you enough. What I personally believe is something which I did research about this called a marriage contract. You may not like this, but please give this to me. How many kids do you have?
3.
So let's say Ali married her man and she said she wanted 3 kids, right? She gets married, she wants 3 kids. All of a sudden, prior to marriage, he agreed. She said, honey, I want 3 kids. Is that cool with you? He said, of course, baby, you want 3 kids. We're going to have 3 kids. She's married. 5 years into it, hey, when are we having our kid? Next year. When are we having our kid? Next year. It's year 8. He's like, I don't want any kids anymore. Should she stay in that marriage? He agreed, and she both agreed that we were gonna have 3 kids. That's why she married him. When it was time to have kids, he changed his mind. Well, I don't want kids anymore. Should she stay in that marriage? Let's go on the guy's side because the red pill guys love when guys are being the victim. So you're a man. And you're married.
Hold on a second. Hold on. Guys, I haven't watched any of this stuff because I haven't even been on YouTube, right? I haven't even done these kind of reactions in a while, so you guys know I'm not even like capping right now. But what does he mean, the red pill guys? Like, what does he? Oh well, let's do this because they want us to play the victim. Like, why so condescending? I'm a little confused. I'm a little confused.
You agreed that we're gonna have sex. Let's say twice a week. That's
an agreement.
I'm just saying
That's a verbal contract.
We're agreeing that we get in
week.
at least twice a week. All of a sudden, she's like, I'm not in the mood anymore. She's like, oh, now I'm on my period.
That won't be all of a sudden. That'd be almost immediate. But go ahead.
Okay, and then months into it, right?
Yeah.
She says, well, I only want to have sex once every 6 months. Should he stay there? You both agreed initially, like, yo, we're going to do this consistently, and now he's getting it. Should he stay there? So to me, what's very important about the marriage is that before you get into it, both of you guys need to agree upon everything. This is where I think the nuance in the evolution, agree on everything so the woman's protected as well as the man is protected. And so to me, that's what me and my wife did. Before we got married, we talked about everything. Every single scenario, every single thing. Me, I'm not a money guy. I'm not motivated by money. So therefore, the money, like, I'm different. Everyone knows me. I'm not a money guy. So you can have all the money. I have my brain. Mm-hmm. I can start from ground zero.
Hafeez, that don't make no sense. Hafeez, that don't make no sense. Because everything that you work for, she can walk away with. And even if you have your brain, it doesn't mean anything. Maybe the same doors that were open in the beginning before you met her aren't going to be open again. Then what do? That's not wise information to be spreading to other men. That's the whole basis of the situation that got men into this mindset to begin with. That's a dangerous way of thinking. That's a dangerous way of thinking. And it doesn't matter if you're a money man or you care. It's just about logical thinking. What makes sense? Because right now, everything is verbally agreed upon between the two of them right now. But tomorrow, that could easily change. Tomorrow, she can renege, or in 5 years, she can completely, and I'm not saying that this will happen. But she could easily become an entirely different person and not agree with anything. Then what?
Money back up. I don't mind money. But to me, because it's another argument that we can talk about later, is that the kids is a whole different conversation. Kids are more wealth than money. So I was more obsessed with children than money because end of the day, like I said, we can talk about that later. But so to me, in regards to losing money, I don't care about losing money. Take whatever you want. If worst case scenario things happen, but by having a marriage agreement, both of you guys understand what's expected of you, and if one person obviously breaks this agreement, both families know. So if she wants a certain amount of kids and I say I don't want it anymore, then her family knows though, yo, Hafeez, you promised my daughter this, you didn't give it to her, so it makes sense that this marriage is no.
So is this? We all understand what a prenup is, all right? Like it's signed, lawyer, date, bing, 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 bing. What is a marriage contract?
So
is it a verbal agreement? Is it a written agreement?
It can be.
You're saying that the families know each other.
Yeah,
what is that exactly?
It can be one of three things, right? It can be written between you and this individual, which is the least ideal. The second ideal is you can actually get a mediator or a legal arbiter to actually sign this for you. So
this don't make no sense. Because if you have to go through all of this to get something signed up, then why don't you just do a prenup? It's defeating the purpose because it's the same exact thing. You're making, contract between the two of you on what would happen if things didn't work out. It's the same exact thing. So I don't get it.
For like in the worst case scenario, if you go to court, this is now a legal document, right? So this is a legal document that can be able to be proved in court. But, I know a lot of the red pill guys don't like the idea of marriage being controlled by the state. Mm-hmm. And if you look at a lot of traditional Eastern societies, marriage is really agreement between families. So to me, I think it's really about the families agreeing to this and the families being aware of expectations on both sides. So therefore, there's family accountability because what's problem in the West is there's no accountability. Like you say, if the wife...
we agree mostly on all of these things. You understand what's going on here. When you're talking about these marriages and business contracts and family, this is where We agree.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we get into the romance and the feelings part of it, which feelings do change, right? Your
100%.
feelings
Yeah, I
changed
guess
about
that's what
me
I'm saying.
about a minute
People
ago.
change.
People change, and
Life changes, right?
Thus, though, the marriage contract doesn't change with the state. So you have to have those things understood and be in the proper
So
position.
okay. So let me just paint a picture here. So I was married very briefly. Okay,
Divorced?
Divorced.
Uh-oh.
But I had a prenup. Yeah, but
All right.
the entire, without throwing myself under the bus here, she needed to expedite the marriage. You know what I'm saying? In order to.
Yeah, I got it.
So I said, I got you, baby. I love you, but you have to sign and date here, and these are the expectations I've had if I do this for you. And it wasn't like a marriage built to last. It was I'm here for a good time, not a long time type of situation. You could read between the lines here if you know what I'm saying, okay?
Got it.
But we're still cool. Shout out to you, Lauren, if you're watching. All good. But better believe that I had a prenup in that situation. So that's when I was in my early 30s. Now I'm in my early 40s. Life's even better. Money's good, career's good, still in shape, still what you would call sexual market value peak. All right. Shout out to Rolo, who basically did a whole calculation. I'm in the 0.13% of men. I'm like, okay, my ego's pretty big already. Boom. Now I just got an inflated ego. Thanks, Rolo. Boom. So life's good. But I had a conversation with a girl recently who's what I would say a very high value woman. Let's put it that way. Okay. And we're saying, all right, if we ended up ever together, I would want a prenup. No. I'm not down for a prenup, was what she says. I said, well, I'm glad we're having this conversation right now before this thing gets off the ground a little bit. She's like, no. And she made some very valid points as to why she wouldn't want to sign a prenup. And I'm like, well, granted, I hear you, and emotional and all that kind of, like, I love what you said about East and West. And I said, yeah, I'm going to need the prenup, baby girl. Like, sorry.
Smart.
Like, no matter whatever happens. So I'm trying to understand, like, the prenup, the marriage contract. At the end of the day, you'd be a fool as a successful guy to not establish some type of boundaries, some type of protection to say, hey, look, I hear you. You want to have this Fantasyland Cinderella Snow White vibe go down, right? Yeah. Beauty and the Beast thing. But like, first marriage is almost 50% don't work. Yeah. Second marriage is, I think it's 60-something percent. Third marriage is 75%. Absolutely. So like the more and more you get married, you realize, all right, this whole thing. So I'm understanding the balance between the emotional component, because you're going to have, hey, I love you. I want to be with you forever, or else we wouldn't get married. Yeah. But just flip a coin whether this bad boy is going to work out or not. At the same time, I hear what Hafeez is saying is like, everything can't be so robotic and so structured that you can't have any feelings and emotion. Yeah. So I'm trying to kind of grapple this.
Can I add something to this?
Go.
See, this is the thing that experience offers that sometimes experience doesn't. So he talked about experience and, being open-minded to experiences, but a guy who has significant investment experiences has bumped their head as well. Yep. They wouldn't be called bitter. They would be called experience, right? But in this situation, what people don't know what's behind that curtain when you go into court and the love is lost. And also the agreements aren't being upheld with the marriage contract are piranhas, sharks. They typically come in the form of lawyers, judges, and people in that industry who make a lot of money. With that being said, once you go in that room, I'm one of the only people that have been in those rooms. It's a dark place. We call it the belly of the beast. And until you've been there, you really haven't experienced a marriage. Now, let me just say this. You mentioned the divorce. Hold on for a second.
Courtroom? You haven't been to marriage?
Yeah. Let me explain why. Let me explain why. You mentioned the 50%, 63%, 70%. But do you know that these don't include the people who have already talked to divorce attorneys? See, many of those 50%, there's an additional percentage of people who haven't even talked to a lawyer, or I'm sorry, that have talked to a lawyer. And they've gone, okay, I'll stay, baby. It's cheaper to keep her. Happy wife, happy life. Yeah. I'll just accept what it is. I'll stay for the kids. I don't want to lose the house. So it's more than 50%.
So and you're saying tack on a couple extra percentage
points. We need to tack on at least 25 extra percent, because there are some people who have visited it, and many people reconciled. So it's bigger than that. And when I add on those percentages, it adds some perspective.
Yeah.
Oh shit, there is more than 50%. These are 50% who legally got divorced. We're adding on the people who said, "Oh shit, I'll just go on and
Just
stay."
what we call thinking about it.
Yeah, man, I'll think about it. Or the
Gotcha.
person brought it up. If you don't do this, I'm divorcing.
Ali, let me get your perspective.
I completely agree with this man. And I understand what he's saying. If you haven't gone through the lows, and you can't say that you've been through anything because you don't know how bad it could possibly get. So I completely understand that. And it doesn't necessarily mean divorce in courtrooms, but it also just means tarnished relationships or bad separations or whatever, when you really see how that love can change to bitterness so quickly. So again, I agree to a certain extent to with kind of everybody is saying, but I mainly agree with what he's saying, because this is the part of the conversation that men need to take into consideration if they are going to make this choice, right? If they are deciding on marriage, okay? Because regardless of, contract, whatever, I mean, I think it's even better if you have certain things in place, because if that woman doesn't want to agree with all of these things, then maybe she had like ulterior motives, right? Or maybe she feels she's a little shaky with the situation. And if you guys can't have hard conversations like that, then how are you guys going to get through hard things?
Because again, you're the anomaly.
Yeah.
Happy marriage, living a good life, and killing it on OnlyFans. Circle back to that little, water cooler talk with your ladies. Why are because I think 70% of marriages are initiated by women. Sorry, divorces are initiated by women, and then it bumps up to
you were right about the first
100% on marriages,
right,
brother.
Right.
But and I think it bumps up to about 80% when they're college educated. So the more money they're making, the more independence they're feeling, the smarter they are. All right. What are the reasons you think that women are just over their man?
Well, I think there's a lot of too with women get in clusters and they kind of feed each other and it festers, and that's one thing I think about, like my husband and I's dynamics. I've never really talked about any marital problems we've had with other people. Maybe, a comment to my sister or something, but I don't like discuss our problems the same way he doesn't discuss that, because I think everyone else, has their own, like you said, biases and things that they've been through, and they may come from a different angle and put ideas in your head or your fears in your head.
You're saying misery loves company.
Misery loves company.
So if you're having an issue with your relationship or your marriage, oh, my man, let me tell you about my man. And then they just kind of...
We should do that, yeah. And I think I've watched it. It's just incredibly toxic. And I think I look at marriage as a commitment between two people. And for me, and so when you speak about the family aspect, I feel like we didn't even have a big wedding because I don't need to share that with anyone else. It's between him and I just found it kind of corny to do so. So for me, I think a lot of women, I don't disagree with there's a lot of women out there dirty, and they will particularly prey on men who are successful I do not dispute that whatsoever. I don't think there's anything wrong with asking for a prenup. I think, it could maybe change the tone, but a true woman that absolutely loves you would respect what you've built before you've actually, came together, and would understand if those are protections you need because of whatever you've been through in the past. If you were a woman who was in love with you, you would honor that and such.
I agree with her. You see, I'm a woman, I said it. She's a woman, she said it, and we said the same thing. And I mean, just from hearing her speak from this small segment, it seems like she might be obviously like really in tune with her husband. Just the fact that she doesn't share her outside business, she only confides in him when it comes to their problems. Like they can work it out. And the fact that she didn't even want a big wedding, I think that says more of like their dynamics. But I also want to say that to answer his question, a lot of women want to get divorced because they feel like it, because they're bored, because the spark is gone, because it's not as spontaneous as it used to be, because it's not fun anymore, because they see their homegirls living the city girl lifestyle and they kind of miss it, and they want to live that lifestyle. Sometimes it's because they are getting older and they don't feel comfortable with being where they are at in life, and they feel like other people who are single are achieving more, and so now they want to be single too. So I mean, there's so many things besides the toxic things of like maybe their husband cheating or fighting or toxic stuff. Like, I feel like that's a very small percentage, based on women just changing their mind. One day they just don't want to do it anymore. They don't want to put up the fight anymore. They're not willing to work towards it because they know that they think that they can get another option, or that there's, possibilities out there for them, and they just don't want to do it. So I think there's a lot of reasons why, but I only wanted to play a small clip. I just wanted to talk about this marriage thing with you guys, and I want to see what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in the next one. Love you.